the serif is really important in Roman lettering, well, and other sorts of lettering as well. You'll find it at the bottom and top of letters like I or a K or something like that. You'll see it on the ends of horizontals, like in the E and the F, on the diagonals, and so on. You'll find that they all cut in the same sort of way, but they all have a particular shape, and a lot of students don't understand what the serif should look like. And so I think it's a great idea if we mock up a big oversized serif like this one, and you can really see the form of it and what makes a serif what it is and the accent that it has. Okay, so I really strongly advise you to do this, and then when you can really feel and see what the serif should look like, when you go back to ordinary size letters, you'll find that you'll be able to cut them much more easily and readily because you'll know what you're looking for. Here's my serif laid out. I've cut the middle part, the section between a serif and a junction or whatever, and that's always what you do first. You cut that bit, deal with the serif or whatever last. And you can see here's a center line, and this distance is half the width of the letter, and another half again is roughly where the serif is going to end up. So my serif comes out here, something like that, and ends up about there. That's in this type of letter, but that will vary. So that's a point. I don't actually mark that on the wood, but I just eye it through later on for each side. Now, if I show you this one here, this is one that I've carved before. This is the same sort of thing I'm going to do now. Here's the serif that we're going to make. Now what's really important is the root, as it comes down here, drops down into there, and there are three walls, the two side walls and the end wall, all at 60 degrees or whatever you decide. Now if I was to split this in half, can you see, I'm sure you can see quite clearly that the root of the letter comes along here and then drops down here, so it's like a little inverted pyramid right in the end here, and it's really important to get that because that adds a little bit of nice shadow and accent to the letter. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to carve this part out, but sinking it deep into the root here. The first thing I'm going to do is put in some stop cuts, and they're going to go from roughly where that square comes in here, so about the same half width down again, so about here, more or less where we've come to the edge of our trench, and it's going to go across like that into that corner, across into that corner. I'm going to do it with my chisel. This is a Allen chisel with a strong corner, but you can do it with an ordinary carving, regular carving chisel. And we're going to drop, it's going to be this corner deepest, and then I'm going to come up and stop at that corner there. So here's my first cut. This is square on to the wood. And my second one, square onto the wood. Now this is a very deep bit of wood, so it's really hard to go down, but you don't need to go all the way down. You just go about a third, perhaps a quarter of the way in, and that'll ease that pressure as I come up to take the sides off. Now for the sides of the serif here, you need a gouge, and this is a very flat gouge because it's a big letter, but you'd normally come in like this, and the shape of the gouge itself would wind its way around. So for example, if you had a little one like this for a smaller letter, as you came in here, the very shape of the gouge will create this, and if you do it on both sides, you get it equal because you're using the same gouge this way and that way. There are other videos in the on the site that'll tell you more about that, and I'll put a link below. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start taking this side wall off. So I'm picking up this side like this, and I'm going to pick up this side. Let me take a bit of this waste away first. And you can see as it's curving, as I lift the gouge, we're coming round over here. So I lift the gouge So we're actually going from a flat face here, this is a flat wall, to something that's a little bit round. And the important thing when you're carving this is that at this point down here, you have to really push that corner down into the wood. So sink that corner down into what will be the inverted serif. Then when you've done the two sides, left and right, using the same movement of the gouge to get that cut, you can actually cut this top wall away. And for me to show you that better, I'm going to swap this whole piece of wood around. Now, this back wall here has got to slope in the same as this wall. And I'm going to take a bit of waste off this one here because it's so deep. Let me take a little bit of waste off here. I normally do a sort of practice cut inside the line because the grain, the fibres might be sloping like this or like this, so I might have to come this way or I might have to come this way depending on how they run. So once I've made up my mind on that, I can start taking this out. Because with a smaller letter it's much easier, but let me just show you, once I've got this out, show you how that gouge or the chisel on a smaller letter will run. So that's coming down here and down here. Okay, so what I'll be doing here is my chisel will come in like this, and starting, usually I start with this chisel lined up along that edge. I slice down, lifting this edge up along this line as I push down, and that corner here, this corner runs into this junction here and actually slides down there as it's going across. I'm going to have to take some of that out there, a little bit out here. And there is the pushing down into that serif down here. Now what's going to happen is that there comes a point when that angle down here is more acute than this chisel. So in fact, if I persist, I'm going to damage the edge here. So what you find you sometimes need, or often need, shall I say, is a skew chisel of some sort, just to finish off down in that little inverted pyramid. Well, there you have it. There's our serif, 3 planes, the 2 walls and the end, all meeting at this point here. This is a little inverted pyramid down the bottom. And it doesn't matter whether the serif is at an angle or horizontal or whatever, it's the same principle, and this point here is the deepest.